KMAN weather.
Following a weekend of highs in the 70s and low 80s, temperatures starting to rise again starting tomorrow. Sunny and a high near 88 with a light east wind becoming southeast of about 5 to 10 miles an hour in the morning. 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 a.m. tomorrow. Heating up to 92 with sunny skies on Wednesday with an overnight low of 73. Sunny and a high near 94 on Thursday. Right now in the Manhattan area, mostly sunny skies, 84 degrees, heat index just at 85. The game is next on News Radio KMAN.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
K-State football officially ranked for the 2025 season. The coaches poll out earlier today. And we will have a top 25 matchup in Dublin, Ireland. According to the coaches poll, K-State number 20, Iowa State tied with Texas A&M for number 21. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf with you until 5:30. That's when Royals pregame coverage gets underway. The first of three in Boston, Massachusetts, Fenway Park. Royals, Red Sox, first pitch 6:10. Pregame coverage is at 5:30. And Cole, real quick, how about the Royals? They get another series victory, their fourth in a row, and this time it's over the top team in the American League.
Don't let the fellas get hot. I mean, that's now 4 consecutive series wins. They're playing, again, as you mentioned, that was a top team in the AL, and now they're kind of chasing a team that is directly above them in the standings. Right now, the Red Sox, with the best record among the wild card teams, they're still a few games ahead of the Royals, but it's just 3.5 games for the Royals back of that third wild card spot, and the Red Sox are just 2 games ahead of the Mariners for that first spot. So it's a huge series. Really feels like one of the bigger series of the season so far. If you can come out of Fenway with 2 wins of these 3 games, you're starting to feel really good about the rest of the season.
You know, speaking of the Red Sox, who is the kid that the Royals just picked up, the bat, Yastrzemski?
Yastrzemski,
So
yes.
is he related to Carl Yastrzemski?
I believe he's the grandson, I think.
Okay.
Is the correct relation in that whole family scenario, I think.
Who was he playing with prior? Was
The
it
Giants.
The Giants.
Yes, San Francisco.
He had a home run.
He did, first game
First
as a
at
Royal.
bat.
That was
How about
pretty
that?
cool.
Well, the winning shot at 3 is pretty big against.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, against a team that, again, they've been among the best, especially as of late in the AL, in the Blue Jays, and you're able to pull out that last game in extra innings, putting together 5 runs in the top of the 10th. Huge. Can't understate that.
Royals now have an even record of 56 and 56 after the series win. They do catch up a game in the American League wild card race. They're still 3 spots back, but just 3.5 games back. So they're absolutely well within the hunt for one of those spots. Boston is right now the top team in the American League wild card race. The Yankees right behind them, Mariners spot back as well. So it's the Mariners, Yankees, and Red Sox, the 2 teams that the Royals are chasing at this very moment. Well, coming up on today's show, again, we're out at 5:30, but coming up at 5:10, it's our first, hopefully, of 2 conversations leading up to kickoff, which is 19 days out in Dublin, Ireland, with Alec Busse from 24/7 Sports and Cyclone Alert. We'll get our first pregame update on the latest coming out of Ames, Iowa, storylines. We'll talk Rodko Beck replacing the wide receivers. We'll get our first look into the Iowa State Cyclones at 5:10. K-State Classics with Cole will be in our first hour as we review the 2012 game at Oklahoma. And we still got 2 games left after today to review. And somehow we leave the best for last. Big 12 title game in 03, Nebraska game in 98. By a random drawing, those are the 2 games left. But we have 2012 versus Oklahoma coming up at about 4:30. And I do want to get to an interesting move. That broadcast of those that watch ACC football games, them and ESPN, they're going to do something what they are calling the first of its kind in college football. So what is it, and should the Big 12 do it as well? That's coming up later in our first hour as well. As I mentioned earlier, by the way, phone lines are open, 537-1350. You can call or text us. We'll get to our sixth question of our 20 questions in 20 shows coming up in just a second, and that is the first of our 5 schedule questions. What is K-State's trap game in 2025? But take a look at the rest of the coaches poll. There was one thing I wanted to see, and that was I didn't want to see certain teams in this top 25. I did not want to see Oklahoma, and they're not in this top 25. I did not want to see Mizzou, and they're not in this top 25. I did not want to see USC, and they're not in this top 25. And I damn sure did not want to see Iowa and Nebraska, and they are not in this top 25. So yes, of course, it is very SEC and Big Ten heavy, but there were teams that I thought deserved to be in this preseason poll and teams that didn't deserve to be in this preseason poll. I got to tip my cap to the coaches. Yes, I would reorder some things, but I'm okay with this. And honestly, K-State coming in preseason ranked number 20 should be a small chip on their shoulder. Because if you compare K-State the last couple of years, it's now been 3 straight years that K-State has been regarded as a preseason ranked team. K-State the previous 2 years have been ranked higher than this year. They've been in the 10s, or the teens. So this is their worst preseason ranking in 3 years, coming in at number 20. Looking at the top 10, Texas receiving the most first-place votes, 28 out of the 64. So they are the preseason number 1 in the coaches poll for the first time ever. Ohio State number 2, Penn State 3, Georgia 4, Notre Dame 5, not receiving any first-place votes. And the worst-ranked team that is receiving first-place votes is at number 6, Clemson. That's all Cade Klubnik hype, I'm sure. Oregon 7, Bama 8, 9 LSU, 10 is Miami. The highest-ranked team in the Big 12 is Arizona State at 11, Illinois 12, South Carolina 13, Michigan 14. Maybe that was another one of those teams I didn't want to see in the top 15. Number 15 is Ole Miss, SMU 16, Florida 17, Tennessee 18, 19 Indiana. Is Indiana better than K-State? Are they better than K-State? Maybe there'll be a meeting in the college football playoff. We'll see. Iowa State then, of course, tied with Texas A&M at 21. BYU coming in at number 23. Honestly, a little bit surprised they're ranked. A little bit surprised. I don't think I would preseason rank them in the top 25, but as the Big 12, you'll take it. A&M at Texas Tech at number 24. I would have put Tech above BYU. Certainly above BYU, but they just missed out on about 26 points. Boise State wraps up the top 25 at number 25. But like I said, not a ton of complaints. 5 Big 12 teams, okay. There is quite a big separation between Arizona State and K-State. Someone may argue that K-State should be ranked higher than Arizona State. I would personally put the Sun Devils ahead of K-State. 9 SEC, 6 Big 10, 3 ACC, and then you have Notre Dame and Boise State. All right, moving on. Cole, let's get to our question for this show today. We are doing 20 questions in 20 shows leading up to kick off on August 23rd against Iowa State, Aviva Stadium. And I'm going to give Bosco's Boys host Scott Wildcat the tip of the cap for this nugget. I trust his research, and I believe he's correct anyway. It should be the first top 25 college football game that is played internationally ever. And it'll be Farmageddon. Today is show 6 out of the 20. Question number 6, Cole. K-State trap game. Trap game is K-State's going to be the favorite. On paper, eye test, really everywhere, they are the better team. but sometimes maybe you're looking ahead. You're not valuing the opponent. It happens sometimes. Here comes a team that is not having as good of a season as you are, not as much to lose at this point, and they come in and nearly get a win or maybe get a win. And last year, that's the KU game. That's the Houston game where K-State was on the ropes, won one, and lost one. So, Cole, you can give me many thoughts, as many thoughts as you want here, but when it comes down to it, when it's all said and done, what is your trap game for K-State in 2025?
There's a couple that kind of stick out to me. There's one that it seems glaring to me, and I'll get to that one a little bit later. My two appetizers, I'll start with at Arizona. I know Arizona is going to be a terrible team. They really don't scare me, which is why the game could become a bit trappish for K-State. You're coming off of a game where it's probably going to be more difficult against Army at home than on the road at Arizona, at least in terms of coaches that have gone to Ireland before have said that it's not the week after the Ireland game, but it's the game after that one. So like 2 weeks from that game, it's a game against Army where it's going to be a very unique game style and game plan that they're going to bring into that game, obviously with the triple option offense. And you're on the road. It's a Friday night. The schedule is going to be a little bit different. So that's one that could potentially be trap-ish. They have at least players at certain positions, Noah Fafita, who you feel confident in his ability as a college football quarterback, even if last year wasn't his greatest season. That one feels definitely a little bit trappish. Another one that could be is your senior night against Colorado. Part of that is I don't know exactly what Colorado's going to look like this year. Don't know maybe how good they're going to be compared to last season, but you could be playing for a spot in the Big 12 championship at this point in the season. It's going to be a Colorado team that maybe if they didn't have that great of a season, they want to end the dreams of K-State. They want to put an exclamation point on their season and try to give themselves some momentum going into next year. So that one could be, I think, a potential trap game as well. But the one that just leaps off the schedule to me, and part of this is I think K-State has a somewhat difficult Big 12 schedule where some of them are like on the road at Baylor, not really a trap game because you're anticipating Baylor being pretty good this season. Or at home against TCU, maybe not necessarily a trap game because they're probably going to be pretty solid this season too. But the one that jumped off the schedule to me was November 15th on the road in Stillwater taking on Oklahoma State. And there's a few reasons why this one jumped out to me. We know the history in Stillwater over the past couple of years and the history with Oklahoma State over the past couple of years. Since 2010, K-State is 6-9 against Oklahoma State. The Cowboys have won 4 of the last 6 games, and K-State has only won once in Stillwater, going back to 2000. The last time they won, other than I believe it's 2017 when they won at Oklahoma State, was 1999. So they haven't had a ton of success against Oklahoma State. Granted, they haven't played every single year or every other year in Stillwater going back to 1999, so it hasn't been as many opportunities maybe as other opponents in the Big 12, but they haven't had a ton of success on the road against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State most likely will not be very good this year. I don't have a lot of confidence. It's a ton of roster turnover. It's going to be basically an entirely new offense, defense in terms of, and it's also a completely different coaching staff, I believe, as well. Pretty much cleaned house under Gundy, and also the pressure's on for Mike Gundy. If he has another poor season, you can't afford to go 0-9 in the Big 12 again. And if they're even anywhere close in that conversation, whether it's they haven't won a game in the Big 12 or it's just, again, things aren't going well in Stillwater, that will be a hot seat come November. So there will be a lot of motivation from his perspective trying to knock out K-State. Again, K-State will come off of a bye, and that hasn't exactly gone the greatest over the past couple of years. It'll be potentially after an emotional win against Texas Tech, a Texas Tech team that we think is going to be pretty good, or at least, at the very least, has a ton of talent and the ability to have some tools that will scare a team like K-State. And finally, there could be a ton on the line. This is a juncture in the season where last year K-State kind of fell apart in November. You could be looking ahead to a road game in Utah against the Utah team that we think could be pretty good. So there's a lot of things that kind of combine to make this definitely a dangerous game as your first game. I guess your second game played in November, but your first game played in a couple of weeks in November as you get ready for the end of the season.
Yeah, Oklahoma State is one of the three, in my opinion, just giant question marks on exactly how good is this team going to be. They join KU and Colorado for me, and just who knows how good they're going to be. I think you got to put some respect on Mike Gundy's name to be able to turn this around. They're dedicating more money. He's taking a pay cut to dedicate more money to NIL. Give them a little bit of respect to see what they can do. Yeah, who knows how good Oklahoma State's going to be at that time. I personally will not overlook them because, yes, Chris Kleiman has had a tough go so far in Stillwater. All right, so I'll give you my candidates for trap game. No, I do not think K-State is going to lose this game. What Army does is what I said last week. K-State, I think no doubt this is what they're going to be best at, and that's stopping the run. This should be one of the best run-stopping defenses we've seen at K-State. One of the best. And Army is going to run the ball 7 out of 8 times per ball game. Their top running back from last year has now transferred to Arizona State. That's Kanye Udo. They have a new quarterback. I will give them some respect where respect is due, though. Their offensive line is really good, and they return a lot of key pieces there. On defensively, their secondary is going to have a couple of new pieces, but very good turning over the football. Very good tackling in the secondary. They got some beef up front as well on defense. So it's just kind of on my radar. But the number one reason why Army's on my radar, they have not one, but 2 players on their roster with the last name Fortner. I have met only one person in my entire life outside of my family. It's a long story, but the only people I know in my entire life that have the last name Fortner is my dad, my mom, and my sister. That's it. And I've met only one other person in my life that has the last name Fortner. And I get to give the Fortner name a little bit of a shout out at the bill. I think that's pretty cool. Plus, when you have the last name Fortner, it's going to be Fort Riley Day. K-State's going to be trying to defend the fort. Of course, not just me, but it's Fort Riley. So it's kind of a cool day, in my opinion. But I'm not going to sleep on Army. They won 10 games last year, did not play the toughest schedule. The 2 best teams they played, they just got absolutely thumped. But I say just kind of watch out for Army. We'll see, but I don't think K-State's going to struggle too much. I do truly have 2 top 2 candidates on my list. One of them is at KU, and I typically don't bring up road games. But I am going to bring up KU because I'm just simply nervous about this game. Because it's the Kansas kids that know about this game more than anybody else. And K-State is full of stars from Kansas. And KU, again, is just another gigantic question mark about how good they're exactly going to be. But certainly the big name that they return is the reason why they did not win in Manhattan last year. 2 fumbles by Jalen Daniels, and K-State pulls one out of their backside to extend the streak to 16 games. But my pick for trap game for 2025 is I always got to go a home game. Typically, it's a home game that's a trap game. And I'm going to go with TCU. So this is going to be the game coming off the Baylor game. If K-State wins that game in Waco, that's going to be a big win. I got to go back and look at the coaches' top 25. Baylor is receiving votes. Looks like they're ranked 32nd. They're just behind Utah in receiving votes. I think around that time, Baylor will probably be in the top 25. I think they're going to be undefeated. I think they beat Auburn early this upcoming season. I'm not sure if Auburn's receiving any votes or not. But anyway, yes, right behind Baylor. So that's not going to be a top 25 game, but that's going to be a huge game, and I think Baylor's going to win that because they're playing at home. But Baylor's playing us at home, as in Waco. And if K-State can get by that, here comes TCU. Well, TCU Couple of reasons why I bring up trap game is because TCU might not have a great record heading into this game. They got a tough early start to their year. They're going to have to go to North Carolina. They're going to Chapel Hill in game 1. They're going to be hosting SMU, who was in the college football playoff and will be a top 25 team, probably when that game is played. Then they got to go to Arizona State. Then they host Colorado, and then the game against K-State. Being a 3-2 team heading into that game where K-State could be undefeated, it could very well happen. But that should not take away that TCU should be a pretty decent team. Well, what is TCU going to do a lot on offense? They're going to throw the football. They were able to go 9-1 last year by running just over 100 yards. They did not reach 200 yards rushing at all last year, and they won, 8 or 9 games. They're going to throw the football. They're going to throw the football a lot, and whereas K-State's big question mark right now on defense, I think it's obviously fair to say it is the secondary. So where we stand right now in the preseason, looking ahead at 2025 and what the schedule has for K-State, I'm not too worried about their home schedule, but I think TCU, of all the home games, is the definition of a trap game.
I don't disagree at all. I think they're going to be they have enough talent to where they're going to be able to compete probably with a lot of Big 12 teams. But as you said, that beginning of the season grind for TCU could be interesting in terms of what it does to both their record and also maybe just their national perception after when they got pretty hot late in the season last year. So we'll see what happens, and I do think that is kind of the biggest question mark on the schedule, the home schedule, at least for K-State, maybe other than Colorado, just because, again, you don't really know what Colorado's going to look like at that point in the season.
We take a break, and when we come back, we jump back in time to September of 2012. It is our next K-State Classics with Cole. Up next, we review, as Cole watched it for the first time, the 2012 game against Landry Jones, Bob Stoops, and the 6th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners in Norman. That's next on the game.
Miss any of the show?
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Never fear, sportsman. Check out the Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and newsradiokman.com.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
D&I Plumbing, Heating, and Air will provide honest and quality service when you need it most. From a leaky faucet to replacing your water heater. Trust the experts at D&I Plumbing, Heating, and Air, your York and other makes and models local dealer. Call 537-7138 today.
Turn your memories into a masterpiece at Candlewood Frame Shop. Whether it's framing your favorite pictures floating around in the digital cloud or creating a shadow box with cherished things or memorable events, Candlewood Frame Shop. Let them turn your stories into a masterpiece.
For a once-in-a-lifetime experience, engagement ring shopping simply can't be duplicated on a computer screen. At Fifely Jewelers, you'll be pleasantly surprised by our pricing compared to buying online, and we offer financing. Plus, you'll have peace of mind by shopping locally with Fifely Jewelers.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
In Manhattan, building community means more than bricks and beams. It means innovation and partnership. At McCown Gordon Construction, we deliver feature-focused solutions to projects that shape our region. From advanced research labs to vibrant education, healthcare, and community hubs. We're not just building projects, we're building the future of the Flint Hills with unmatched customer experience and value-driven strategies. We're building for tomorrow. Visit kansas.mccown-gordon.com.
At Buck Roofing and Construction, they do more than just roofing and gutters. They also offer a wide range of siding options as well. Whether you are in need of siding, a whole new roof, gutters, or just a repair, Buck Roofing can do it all. Call for a free, no-obligation estimate today, 785-230-9379, or visit ourbuckroofing.com. Buck Roofing, where quality and professionalism come first.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The Cowboys are officially playing with fire. Last Friday, Micah Parsons, arguably the best defensive player in the league, publicly requested a trade. And it wasn't just a negotiating ploy, it was a warning shot. The kind you don't take lightly, especially when it comes from the heart and soul of your defense. Parsons is fed up with the stalled contract talks, the perceived disrespect, and the Cowboys' notorious tendency to slow play negotiations. And who can blame him? While Dallas found time and money to extend tight end Jake Ferguson, Parsons continues to wait for his payday. A generational pass rusher left twisting in the wind. It isn't just about money, it's also about trust, and right now that trust is wearing thin. Jerry and his son Steven have walked the tightrope before, but this situation feels a little different. Not every trade request ends in a departure, but with the tension rising and relationships fraying, the Cowboys better tread carefully, because they may be losing their best player. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
I'm Cole Betchendorf with a game sports update. The college football preseason coaches poll was released Monday, placing K-State at number 20 heading into its season opener in Dublin, Ireland on August 23rd. Their opponent, Iowa State, also finds themselves ranked, coming in at number 21. This makes the Aer Lingus College Football Classic the first internationally played top 25 matchup in college football history. Texas will open at number 1 for the first time in coaches poll history, followed by Ohio State at number 2, Penn State at number 3, Georgia at 4, and Notre Dame at 5. Other Big 12 teams ranked include Arizona State at number 11, BYU at number 23, and Tech one spot behind BYU at 24. The men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments will not be expanding beyond 68 teams this season, but future growth remains on the radar. The idea of expanding the tournament to either 72 or 76 teams had picked up steam in the spring. Though there had been no concrete plan for how expansion would work, speculation had centered on bringing more at-large teams, likely from major conferences, into the 64-team bracket. Kyle Isbell hit an RBI double in the 10th inning, and the Kansas City Royals rallied to beat the Toronto Blue Jays 7-4 on Sunday, taking 2 out of the 3 games in the series. Pre-game tonight starts at 5:30.
We continue with the game. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf. It is Monday, and you know what that means. Because we're at 5:30, we're going to go a little bit earlier. K-State Classics with Cole. Cole's 21 years old. Didn't really watch a whole lot of K-State football growing up. Became a big fan in college. And now he's ready to review some K-State football for the first time in his life. We've done a lot of classic games. The 93 Copper Bowl. West Virginia game in 2012. 2014 games. Actually, we did 3 games in 2011. 3 games in 2011. Now we got more Colin Klein on the docket, as this is one of my favorite games of all time. K-State, Oklahoma, 15 at number 6 to kick off Big 12 play in 2012. Cole watched the game for the first time. I don't have the intro to the game because it was like Gus Johnson coming on and say, "Welcome to Norman for a top 25 matchup." And that's it. A lot of music. Team runs down to the field. And then we go up to the booth. Gus Johnson, does his Gus Johnson thing. And we were ready to put the ball up in the air. But you watched it for the first time, so you lead us through this review, and I got some cool Wyatt calls from this game as well.
Well, first thing, Bob Stoops coming into this game 14-0 versus ranked opponents at Oklahoma. That's not too shabby, and they had a lot of success over K-State over the course of those two schools' careers. Granted, been playing them in the dog days of K-State, which was basically the entire program's history before 1989. So not a lot of success for K-State against Oklahoma outside of a couple of games, one which we'll be reviewing here in a couple of weeks, guaranteed. Starting into the game, this is kind of the story of the first few offensive drives for K-State. They would get just a little bit into OU territory and then kind of flame out. It was a lot of, pick up 2, 3, 4 first downs and then get to about the 40 of OU, and that's where the drives would stall. Man, there were a couple of fourth down decisions that definitely frustrated me watching the game 13 years later. The first
conservative,
one,
I'm sure.
Yes, very. Yeah. The first one was 4th and 1. It was around the 40-yard line of Oklahoma.
Oh man!
And here comes the punt unit, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, Kleiman would no way.
And
well, going for it.
Yes, and considering who you have as your quarterback, you have one of the, if not the best short yardage quarterback maybe in the history of college football. The guy, if you could choose one guy outside of maybe like Tim Tebow, you're probably taking Colin Klein for a QB sneak.
You had a couple in this game because Oklahoma back in those days would run Blake Bell, the Belldozer, and he, technically, right, a backup quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he would just line up and he was basically the Wildcat formation out there, would just run it in goal-to-go situations.
So, yeah, you had 4th and 1 with Colin Klein, and they punted. Granted, it was a pretty good punt, and you'll hear that a few times in this game. And so that they like not to go for it. That just irked me to my core, especially in the now's age of analytics for college football and football as a whole. Then you go to the next drive for Oklahoma, the first drive of the game. They drive it down the field, and really, especially given the final score of this game, a really, really bad miss from Landry Jones on what would have been a wide-open touchdown. I mean, you consider, obviously this isn't how football works. If you reverse one play, everything else stays the same. Not how it works, but if you give them the touchdown early, that would change it at least from 24-19. They wouldn't go for 2 at the end of the game, so you put that at Oklahoma would have had more points than K-State at the end of this one. If nothing else changed, it was just that specific thing other than the 2-point conversion. It would have been, at least, it changes the entire complexion of the game. Instead, he misses the tight end in the end zone. K-State survives. They hold the next couple of downs on 2nd and 3rd and goal with a nice tackle by Ty Zimmerman on 2nd and goal. They hold them out of the end zone, hold them to 3. I also found out that Ty Zimmerman's dad is Randall Zimmerman over at Junction City, head coach of Junction City High. So they were saying it on the broadcast, and I'm trying to get an interview scheduled with him. And I was like, oh, that's Randall Zimmerman? Okay, that checks out. Then the next drive.
I want to say Ty's been coaching over there. Yeah.
Well, good for him. Good for him. Going back to where it all started, won a state championship with Junction City in the 2000s. It was another great start to the drive for K-State. Again, they get it into Oklahoma territory, and again, a 4th down decision where I think in nowadays landscape, you probably go for it. It's 4th and 4. This one, again, near like the 45-ish of Oklahoma. You can understand why you would go for it. I'm not as mad about this one. They would punt it again inside the 20-yard line. Found out in this game that Damian Williams was an Oklahoma Sooner. The running back of one of the biggest plays in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs. So that was pretty cool to find out. Go through.
Should have been MVP.
I think you have a great case to make for Damian Williams in that. The game-sealing one, the receiving touchdown.
I have never stood up for an Oklahoma Sooner more than that moment. Those 2 touchdowns.
There was a legitimate case to make. Next drive for Oklahoma, Landry Jones, man, he threw a hospital ball right over the middle, and it was in Arthur Brown's zone. Ball. It was just, he was trying to get Trey. It was Trey, I don't even know how to say his last name, Meteor or something like that. Just got nearly decapitated over the middle by Arthur Brown. He was shaken up for quite a time. He would come back into the game, but just trying to send his receivers to the emergency room, it was not great. Very next play was a Justin Tuggle strip sack on 3rd and 13 that Jarrell Childs would fall on in the end zone for K-State's first points of the day. This was completely on Landry Jones. His internal clock needed to go off way earlier than it obviously did, and then it was also great coverage on the backhand that allowed the pressure to get there.
Yeah, this is a pretty big play, and this is what gave K-State some momentum finally in the game. Here's the call from Wyatt Thompson. If it wants to play. And it's freezing up on me. Well, this is good. You may have to play it on your end. It just froze up on me.
I'll see if I can pull it
I
up
have the
here.
audio. It just doesn't want to play. Oh, boy. I'm all froze up over here. So you want to try it over there? Sports 2, 3rd clip.
Here come the Cats after Landry, flushed out of the pocket, and he loses the ball, and the Cats fall on it for a touchdown. Kansas State's got the first score of the night, and it's Jarrell Childs who picks it up and scores. The Wildcats knock it away from Landry Jones, and they lead in the game 6-3.
So obviously a huge play in the game early for K-State. You mentioned it. They didn't really have a ton of momentum on both sides of the ball. Offense was picking up some first downs, but the defense with a huge play to fully get themselves in the game. And on top of the Sooners early in this first, or I guess at this point, it's like probably 75% of the way through the first quarter. So now going back to, we got to find where we're at now in the notes.
Well, coming up now, then you have, because in that first half, there was a huge 14-point swing. I mean, Oklahoma is handing K-State momentum because the Sooners would drive down the field, and then the Belldozer comes in.
Future Kansas City Chief, Wichita native, Blake Bell comes into the game in the Wildcat and just mishandles the snap.
Falls asleep.
He just doesn't handle the snap. Ty Zimmerman falls on it. I already said his name once. He falls on it, and it goes from potentially Oklahoma being up 10-7 from now K-State having the ball with all the momentum in the world following the strip sack touchdown and then not really even causing a fumble, just following on a fumble in the red zone.
It was a 14-point swing.
Yes. I mean, huge play. John Hubert, he had that little spin move that he would do to kind of fall forward and get a couple of extra yards, get the first down was nice. Every time you're like, yeah, do that. Do that. I like to watch that. And it felt like, you know, when you needed 3 yards, he'd get you 5. He would always bounce off those defenders and get you like 1 to 2 more yards than you would think he would get on any given play. Like a play's blown up in the backfield, well, he's going to find out a way to turn a negative 2-yard loss to maybe fall forward for 1 or get back to the line of scrimmage. And that's the kind of quality in a running back that you love to have. You can't understate how important that is to have in the offense. This next drive starts in part for K-State because of Hubert, when he reels off the longest offensive play in the game, a 44 or 43-yard rush down the left sideline, sets them up into Oklahoma territory. Then they would finally pick up the first high-leverage offensive play of the game. They had a couple of third downs that obviously had fallen short. They'd end up in fourth downs. 3rd and 6, they extend it with a pass over the middle to Tremaine Thompson. That would happen quite a few times in this game, a high-leverage pass to Tremaine Thompson.
A lot of big third down pickups.
Yes, there were some clutch plays over the middle of the field. Klein standing tall in the middle of the pocket, having a lot of confidence in both himself, his line, and his receivers. And that was extremely important in the middle of this game. They picked up another huge first down on the next set of downs, another 3rd and 6, and it's another pass over the middle, this time to Tyler Lockett. This one was just a clinic by the K-State offensive line. Klein probably had a pump fake about 6 times. He had like 6 hitches, it felt like, and just kept kind of bouncing and then found Lockett over the middle. They would eventually turn this into a field goal after an incompletion that could have been caught. I believe it was Lockett in the back of the end zone, but it was a really good play by the defensive back for Oklahoma. So that made it 10-3. Next drive for Oklahoma, picking up the offensive pace. I believe at one point their average time to snap was like 21 seconds. So they were certainly picking up the pace. later in this second quarter and into the second half as a whole. K-State it was a bend but don't break for them a lot in this first half. They would hold them to another field goal, 10-6. I mean, they were getting obliterated like in the yardage stats, but because of those two fumbles, one of them in the end zone, the other on the other side of the field, K-State took the 10-6 lead going into halftime, and that was with Oklahoma getting the ball. So it was going to be a pretty big start to the half for K-State's defense, and that's what they would get. They would get a stop straight out of the gates, and then this is where I even got more frustrated at the 4th and 1 not going for it earlier in the game, because this time you're on your own 40, 4th and 1. Granted, this one was probably 4th in inches. It wasn't really a full yard. It was at the most a half yard. And you actually do decide to go for it. You go for the QB sneak with Klein, and actually gets stopped really on the first initial pressing from the Oklahoma defenders, but he's able to kind of bounce to the outside on the QB sneak, falls forward, picks up the first down. And then if that didn't make me mad enough, going for it there, not going for it earlier, the very next set of downs was another 4th and 1. And this time you punt it. I was like, okay, Bill, we got to give me some rhyme or reason. What's going on? Why are we going for it here on our own 40? We're not going for it 10 yards later down the field. We didn't go for it earlier in the game, but it was okay because Ryan Dorr, is that how you say his last name? Was just a beast in this game. We're talking 5 punts, all 5 of them inside the OU 20, a couple of them inside the 10, and at least one of them inside the 5. So just a punting clinic. And even though the field position was swinging in K-State's favor every time, but every time I just was getting frustrated at the not going for it.
So to give you my side of watching this game, so I was at a wedding in Clay Center, and pretty much everybody was inside, like it was at a country club, was inside watching the game, was around this small TV watching the game, and there's a free cake of beer. Everybody's having a good time, as you can imagine. I'm a little ham-boned myself. And I remember 2 things we reacted to every time there's a big first down. Yeah, big pop from the crowd. We all love it. It was a big game. And then the times you mentioned where Bill would not go on it for 4th and 1, we're all complaining. We're all, oh, God, come on, Bill. Go for it. So those are the 2 things I remember. Well, other than once K-State won the game, I was doing KSU for everybody.
It was, man,
while the bride and groom was dancing by themselves.
The biggest problem with the 4th and 1 calls was there was zero rhyme or reason for let's go for it here, let's not go for it here. I mean, you're going for it on your own 40, but you don't go for it on Oklahoma's side of the field. I don't know. Anyways, I digress.
Let's talk about the 2 big scores.
Yes, we go to the next drive. There was a couple of questionable calls on OU's behalf. There was the pass forward on the shovel. I do think that was the correct call. Landry Jones kind of tossed it forward. It was going to be like the jet touch pass that we see so often. Called the fumble on the field. They go back, review it, and they say incomplete pass. And then one that was a terrible call was a pass down the left sideline, and the receiver stepped out like 10 yards before he caught it. Hat got thrown by the official, marking him as out of bounds. First person to touch the ball, no call. And so that one was terrible. And also there was an ineligible man down the field, whatever. Blake Bell gets into the end zone on that drive after they get it down inside the 10-yard line, making it 13-10. The next drive, there were a couple of big-time plays. There was a Chris Harper catch that was just disgusting.
Pretty sick catch. I know I'm sure everybody listening knows exactly the catch you're talking about. I mean, just one-on-one to the sideline.
Sticky hands in traffic. It was nasty.
It's crazy that the ball got to him.
Yeah.
It should have been deflected.
Yeah, it was really perfect coverage by the DB. Just an absurd catch from Harper. Flash forward a couple of drives after another punt inside the 20 from Dorr. There was another Ty Zimmerman interception, this time instead of the fumble recovery, setting up K-State in OU territory, which immediately led to a high leverage play, another 3rd down, and I think it was 3rd and 6. A bullet from Klein over the middle, picks up the first down. Hubert had a couple of big runs on this drive, gets them inside the 10-yard line, and then Colin Klein, with great patience, bounces off a couple of K-State players and lets his blocks take him into the end zone.
You have to play it on your end. Not working over here.
I will pull that up here on my side if I can click the right place to find them. That's the Actually, this is the fumble recovery is what we have on deck from Zimmerman earlier.
Go to the bottom of the list.
This is the second one.
Colin turns, hands it off to Hubert. And
right below it.
Center to the 5 to the goal line. Wildcat touchdown. John Hubert scores from 9 yards out with 7:27 to go. Second effort for Hubert.
That would be the second touchdown after a stop for K-State.
Well, wasn't it? It was Klein that punched it in, right?
Klein punched it in, and then Hubert scored later in this game to put K-State fully in control, 24-13 with like 7 minutes left. And then OU puts together really a pretty good drive. The problem is it took like 3 minutes off the clock. They used the timeout on the 2-point conversion when they only had 2, so that gave them 1. And then K-State 4-minute offense. We talked about Tremaine Thompson with a couple of big pickups. He had a huge one, 3rd and 11 after just a head scratcher of a play call on second down when you snap the ball with 7 seconds left on the play clock and then throw an incompletion. But then Tremaine Thompson picks up the first down. John Hubert a couple of runs. Colin Klein 3rd and 3, ball game on a QB power.
I tell you what, it had been a long time since K-State won a game in Norman. That was the game, first of all, that really put K-State this season on the map. I believe they became a top 10 team.
They did.
And then, going back to John Hubert became a made man. He had an underrated game. Like
monster game.
His rushing touchdown, he ran for $130. That wasn't exactly an easy defense to run against. And K-State, 4.8 yards per carry, and John Hubert's running for nearly 6 yards per carry. And it wasn't easy for Colin to run the ball either. But John Hubert had the biggest run of the game. It wasn't much of a throwing game for Colin Klein. Nobody had more than 49 yards. Tremaine Thompson was K-State's leading receiver with 49 yards. Tyler had 37 yards in the game. You hold Tyler Lockett to 37 yards, it's not easy to win a game.
And every Tremaine Thompson catch was monster. They were just huge throughout this game.
Well, and you can, Oklahoma's mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma should have won that game, in my opinion.
For sure.
They were honestly probably the better team, but K-State was just able to capitalize on those mistakes.
And they didn't make mistakes of their own.
All right, we'll take one final quick break of the hour, and then we'll wrap it up next. Hour 1 of the game continues after these words.
Your home for K-State sports. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
It wasn't long ago that air conditioning wasn't a standard luxury item found in businesses and homes. Can you imagine life without it now? The heating and air industry has changed through the years, but one company has remained constant since 1981. For over 40 years, M&S Plumbing has kept Manhattan and the surrounding communities cool. M&S repairs all brands and offers 24-hour emergency service. So if your AC needs serviced, call on a name you can trust.
Call the experts who care. M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Hi, I'm Malia McKinney with L&L Advisors, and I still believe in the power of an old-fashioned handshake. There's a better way to handle Medicare, one that starts with a real conversation, real information, and no sales pitch. I'm an independent advisor, which means I'm not tied to just one company. I will shop multiple plans to find the right fit for you. Whether you're retiring soon, new to Medicare, or reviewing your current plan, understanding your options is key. Medicare is too important to leave to guesswork. Let's walk through it together and see how I can help you save money and gain peace of mind. Malia McKinney, L&L Advisors, local, genuine, and here for you.
Manhattan Broadcasting is an equal opportunity employer. In order to widely publicize our job opportunities and outreach programs and organizations that regularly distribute information to job seekers or refers candidates to employers, please contact us about our employment contact list to receive the most current information about station vacancies. For more information or to be added to the list, please contact Manhattan Broadcasting Company at 785-776-1350. Visit us at 2414 Casement Road in Manhattan, Kansas, or email front desk at 1350kman.com.
Hi, it's Laura, your new store manager at Ashley's Clearance Center, 8370 East Highway 24 in Manhattan. Come see me Wednesday through Saturday from 10:30 to 5:30. We've got new inventory arriving daily, from closeouts to one-of-a-kind scratch and dent treasures, all at unbeatable prices. Come say hi and discover the deals waiting just for you.
All right, couple of minutes left here in hour number 1. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf just wanted to cover a quick topic that came out earlier this afternoon, announced by the ACC and ESPN, that they're going to do something they call first of its kind in college football. And yes, that is true. They're going to start to air the replay booth audio during the broadcast. So whenever there's a replay, you're going to hear the official and the replay booth have a conversation about whatever they're reviewing.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, how do you not like that? First of all, I remember it first happening in the XFL, the return of the XFL, that one season, where they had basically the official talking to one guy in the replay booth, quick conversation, quick reviews, like it was happening quick, didn't disagree with anything they were saying. But I think we can at times use some clarity.
For sure.
And I think honestly, a lot of it probably has to do with targeting. Like, I want to hear what exactly they're looking at. Because I feel like I know what targeting is. And then there's a review. You think it's targeting, they come back, that's not targeting. I'm like, well, now I'm second-guessing everything I know in my life. So I would love to hear that conversation about targeting, how close it is in a particular case. If they're talking about the rules in that situation, exactly what are they looking at? I would love to know that. In college football, it's what makes it different compared to the other sports that have review is that the final decision is not made by the official. It's made by whoever is the head honcho in charge of the replay review. And if it's like in the Big 12, it's, they review in Irving, Texas, or whatever conference. It's not the white hat that makes the final decision, but they are a part of the conversation. And I can speak for a lot of fans where we don't necessarily know the rule book like the back of our hands. So that's when I would like to have a little bit more clarification on a few things. But I think it's a great idea. And I think other conferences should do that. It also, I think, would be a good step into holding officials more accountable for their work. Obviously, they're protected by us not hearing what's all going on. And it's not just like targeting reviews. It could be any kind of review. And we watch the video board and we get a replay and we see that, oh, yeah, it should go K-State's way. And then all of a sudden the play stands. When I thought we clearly saw that that's a play that should be upheld and K-State scores a touchdown or whatever. But we're not getting the explanation. Nobody's getting the explanation, maybe besides Chris Kleiman, and then, it's a coin toss to see if we get that explanation from him.
I like it a lot.
Because he's got to protect the officials. He can't say anything bad.
I think having some, you said the word clarity. I think having some of that for the fans, I think that's a great addition for the Big 12.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, Alec Busse from 24/7 Sports and Cyclone Alert will join us, plus we'll get to a question about the O-line that we got from YouTube. That is coming up next. A short hour 2 are out at 5:30 as you're listening to the game on KMAN.
You're in the game on News Radio KMAN.
That's the sound of flimsy vinyl or polymer siding giving way under pressure. Would you trust something like that on your home's exterior? You invest time and effort into making your home beautiful inside and out. You choose quality pieces that last. So why settle for siding that's essentially plastic? Vinyl or polymer siding can crack in extreme weather, fade like a forgotten photograph, and even warp, leaving your home looking less than its best. Now imagine the satisfying strength and lasting beauty of steel. Midland Exterior steel siding is the equivalent of choosing a timeless, well-crafted piece for your home's exterior. It resists cracking, warping, and fading, maintaining an elegant look and protecting your investment for up to 50 years. Don't let flimsy siding detract from the beauty and value of your home. Upgrade to the enduring strength and sophisticated style of steel siding from Midland Exteriors. Call us today for a free consultation at 855-735-8255 or see the beautiful difference at midlandexteriors.com. That's 855-735-8255 and midlandexteriors.com.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The experienced professionals at the Trust Company are recruited specifically for their financial, legal, accounting, and business expertise. They're also your neighbors who, guided by your hopes and dreams, will continue to deeply understand your aspirations and goals. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards. Get a premium finish with less odor and fumes for your painting project with Rust-Oleum's low-odor spray paint. It provides a long-lasting, durable finish, making it perfect for indoor or outdoor projects. Save big on Rust-Oleum spray paints, now at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
Manhattan's first for news, sports, weather, and talk since 1950. This is News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
CBS News Brief. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered the arrest of Democratic lawmakers who fled the state to block a vote on a Republican-backed congressional redistricting plan, escalating a standoff that has stalled the legislative session. Republican State House Speaker Dustin Burrows.
I have signed the civil arrest warrants. We will work with DPS to locate members.
A fire in Central California is now spanning more than 60,000 acres after evacuations were ordered. Captain Mark Nunez with Sacramento Metro Fire.
It takes a lot of personnel to take on something of this size. So that's why we're sending strike teams down there right now. It's to assist and to make sure that we have enough personnel to be able to handle the incident.
Jill Rolls speaks on the bartender killed at a Montana bar on Friday.
She has a huge heart. She loves animals. Every animal loved her. She walked around town carrying bones for all the dogs. She was just a great person, would do anything for anybody.
The gunman is still out there. CBS News Brief. I'm Matt Piper.
Now, the latest news from the News Radio KMAN and Manhattan Mercury Newsroom.
RCPD is investigating an aggravated assault involving a machete. Senator Moran slams the FAA over a fatal in-air collision in D.C. in January. And Riley County officials approved some budget reallocations for community corrections. Hello, I'm Stephen Schaefer with a look at local news. Riley County Police are investigating after a suspect reportedly brandished a machete during an argument over the weekend. Officers filed a report for aggravated assault in the 400 block of 3rd Street Friday evening, listing a 42-year-old man as the victim. Police have yet to make any arrests in the case. Anyone with information is asked to contact RCPD or the Manhattan-Riley County Crime Stoppers. U.S. Senator Jerry Moran castigated the Federal Aviation Administration for failing to respond to warning signs and improve safety of airspace in Washington, D.C. area before American Airlines Flight 5342 and the Army Black Hawk helicopter collided in January. Moran, who chairs the Senate Commerce Subcommittee on Aviation, Space, and Innovation, said 3 days of National Transportation Safety Board hearings indicated unresolved staffing issues and a record of near misses were contributing factors in the January 29th accident. Quote, despite numerous warning signs of serious problems over the last several years, little was done to try to correct them, and these failures by the FAA, the Army, and Air Traffic Control cost 67 lives, Moran said. The airliner departed Wichita and fell into the Potomac River after slamming into the helicopter near the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. FAA administrators said the national shortage of traffic controllers had to be considered. On the night of the mid-air collision, one DCA tower controller was handling both fixed-wing aircraft and helicopter traffic. Typically, 2 controllers divided that workload. Riley County officials approved personnel line item adjustments for community corrections on Monday, reallocating $40,700 funds in adult services and $31,907 in juvenile services. Jesse Hubbard is an administrative assistant with community corrections.
The amounts for the adult services one, we estimated we were going to move about $40,000 and it ended up being $40,700. And for the juvenile services, we anticipated moving $30,000 and it was $31,907. So fairly close to our estimates.
After adjusting 6 non-administrative salaries, Hubbard says the department was able to make some crucial purchases.
We have some much needed new desks. We did get a very much needed new security system in our Place Center office as well. We did get some furniture, some desks, new vehicle.
She says any adjustments to the budget over $5,000 require approval from county officials. A perfect day to cool off at Sunset Zoo. The zoo, along with the Manhattan Konza Rotary Club, hosted Water Safari and Water Matters Day on Saturday afternoon. Attendees could chalk and play with bubbles, visit interactive booths from Friends of the Caw and Manhattan Public Works, take part in a scavenger hunt, or get their faces painted. Just in case anyone was hungry, the zoo's Expedition Cafe was open. Bella Hanna's ice cream and pastry shop food truck also stopped by for the event with cold treats on a warm afternoon. Another popular activity was spray and play from the Manhattan Fire Department. You can look for photos from the event in Tuesday's print edition of the Mercury. Nearly 100 pairs of shoes were handed out Friday to needy kids in Manhattan. Sole Reason, a Topeka-based nonprofit that provides new and gently used shoes to school children, launched its expansion into Manhattan with a private event held at the 5th Street Boys and Girls Club. Spokesperson India Yarborough.
Jerry Hudgens is the executive director. To date, he's given away almost 9,500 pairs of shoes to kids in need in the greater Topeka area. We've got some connections, recognized this need, and thought, let's expand to serve more kids across Northeast Kansas and really make sure that these children have the shoes and the footwear they need to start the school year strong.
Yarborough says Sole Reason is currently looking to partner with Manhattan area businesses to help sustain programming.
All sponsorship dollars do go directly toward purchasing new sneakers for kids right there in the Manhattan community who need them. Operational expenses are paid through separate fundraising events, so businesses can know that their dollars are going directly to purchase new sneakers for kids in their community.
Anyone interested in getting involved with Sole Reason can visit solereason.net for more information. For news anytime, visit us online at newsradiokman.com or themercury.com. Hour 2 of the game is next.
News is powered by Central National Bank with locations at the Walmart Supercenter and at College and Claflin. Central National Bank, member FDIC. News Radio KMAN weather.
Temperatures climbing back into the 90s in the coming couple of days. Starting tomorrow, sunny with a high near 88. A 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 a.m. on Tuesday night, and then a high near 92 with sunny skies on Wednesday after a clearing out of clouds following a chance of rain in the morning. Wednesday night, an overnight low of 73. Thursday, sunny and a high near 94. Right now, 84 degrees with mostly sunny skies in Manhattan.
K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452. All right, it's a short hour to the game after work. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf. We're getting in contact with Alec Busse right now. We'll have our first look at the Iowa State Cyclones here in just a moment. Hopefully it's going to be our first of 2 talks with Alec about Iowa State. Before we get there, I do want to answer a question we got about the offensive line. How do I feel about the K-State offensive line heading into 2025? That coming on YouTube, which we are live streaming on YouTube every single show. Hit that subscribe button if you don't mind, if you're watching us on YouTube. Okay, so we did talk a little bit about the offensive line last week. I'm going to hit the highlights on this one because now obviously we know that, at least this is the word on the street, right? Not reported by me, it was reported by On3 First, that the Ohio State transfer, George Fitzpatrick, a couple of weeks ago had a medical emergency, had to be taken to the hospital. He's with the team now, but he's not. I don't know how much he's doing with the team. There is hopes, of course, that he's going to play this year. Word is that he's not going to play in game number 1. I mean, to me, yeah, that's certainly a blow. If George Fitzpatrick is not able to go and play at left tackle, he was the first name of the open spots that were up for grabs when it comes to being a starter. I mean, he grabbed that spot in the spring. He earned that spot. He's a national championship winner at Ohio State, got plenty of experience. The guy's going to be a dude. We just don't know when he's going to play. However, do get the impression that K-State may have some of the most depth that they've had in quite some time at offensive line. So if it's not George Fitzpatrick, we could easily see John Pastore, who's healthy and ready to go to play at left tackle. Taylor Portier is obviously going to be there. Sam Hett is your starter at center. He's one of the best in college football. Andrew Langang, we're going to see him play. And then, even more transfers, Amos Talalele. Enos, expect J.B. Nelson, the transfer from Penn State, who's a former starter at Penn State, is going to probably start at right guard, but we'll see about that. And then we got a redshirt freshman in Gus Hawkins that we expect to play. So K-State should be as deep as they've been on the offensive line in some time. At least that's the way it feels, even if George Fitzpatrick is not able to go for some time. But I feel good about the offensive line without seeing a lot of these guys yet to play. It's a lot of new guys. So still, I mean, it's fair to say the jury's still out on this offensive line. There's no doubt. But I'll put it this way as well. They're going to be well coached. I think Brian LePack is no about one of the up-and-coming coaches in college football. He's got a high ceiling in this sport. He is super smart, the right guy for the job. So also because they're going to be well coached is a good sign that this offensive line is going to be good for K-State this upcoming season. All right, let's get to the phone lines. We got a special guest to join us to talk our first round of previewing the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, which is 19 days out. We speak with Alec Busse from 24/7 Sports and Cyclone Alert. And now, how about this? I consider this now, he is my rival in the radio game when it comes to Farmageddon. He is now the host of First Quarter with Heather Burnside on 106.3 KXNO. We're now joined by Alec Busse. Alec, how did you start to get involved in the radio game?
Probably the same way that your good buddy Mason Voth did back in the day. They asked me to come on a few different times as a guest with various different appearances or just sharing my insight on Iowa State, and I guess they thought pretty highly of me because they eventually offered me a full-time job, or part-time job, I guess I should say, in the mornings, Monday through Friday from 6 to 9. The sleep schedule is mostly adjusted after a month of 4:30 a.m. alarms, but it's been a lot of fun to see your side of the business more up close, Mitch, and I can see why you like it so much.
So you are enjoying it so far? You think this is something you could do for a while?
I do. I don't know if I can be like Mike and Mike in the morning and be that big at it, but maybe I can make a living in this for a while. I think it sounds kind of fun. It's not too bad to get paid to talk about sports every day for 3 hours.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. I didn't necessarily get into this business to be a sports talk host. I wanted to be into play-by-play and then working with K-State doing the public address announcing. But I've been a part of this show for 10 years, and I've had a lot of different hosts. But I will say it's a lot of work, but in the long run, it's a lot of fun. You had a different rise than Mason. Mason came to us and said, look, I can work for free. And we were like, okay, job is yours, son. And then he was kind of funny and knew a little bit about sports, and the rest is history. We decided to pay him a little bit. You got paid a lot faster than a Mason, but I'm glad you're enjoying the work. Let's talk Iowa State. All right, so we're a couple of weeks into practice. Hit me right now so far with what's the top storylines out of Iowa State practice right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, they feel pretty good about what they return at quarterback, obviously, with Rocco Beck returning as a third-year starter. I mean, he's passed for over 3,100 yards each of the last 2 seasons. He's passed for at least 23 touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons. So that's obviously exciting. In terms of question marks as storylines, I think you obviously go to receiver just because they have to replace 2 1,000-yard receivers in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll, who were both selected by the Houston Texans on the second day of the NFL draft. But I think they feel pretty confident about what they found via the portal at the top of the receiver room, with Chase Sowell coming in from East Carolina, Xavier Townsend transferring in after a short 3-year career at UCF. And then they also feel like they've developed that position well with second-year players like Dominic Overby and Brett Eskildson. Neither one of them contributed a ton for Iowa State a year ago. I think they combined for less than 5 catches. But both of them have some traits that they like, especially Overby's size and speed. And Eskildson contributed quite a bit for Iowa State on special teams, which is exciting. And then on the defensive side, you got to probably go to just the spots that they're replacing. They lost 3 of their top 4 defensive linemen from last season. So they brought in a few transfers on the defensive line. All of them are going to play defensive end. Vontroy Malone from Tulsa, Cannon Butler from Northern Iowa, and then the most significant of the 3 is Tamatoa McDonough, a transfer defensive end from Yale who had 6.5 sacks from a year ago. They didn't use the portal nearly as much in the secondary, but they do bring in Trey Bell, an FCS transfer from Lindenwood. He had an interception last season against KU quarterback Jalen Daniels. Iowa State won his services in the portal over a few other Big 12, Big 10, and ACC schools. So that's obviously a significant win. And then they're using their current roster to fill the departure of Malik Verdon and Bo Freeler, who both departed after graduation, or I guess in Verdon's case, he declared for the NFL draft early but wasn't selected. So it's probably a combination of they feel good about where they have some returning pieces at key positions, but there's also some notable spots that need to be filled. They don't return the amount of production they did a year ago, and frankly, they're far from it because I think they're about 41% of their production returning this year, whereas last year they were over 90%. So it's a little bit of a different roster in terms of certainties compared to a year ago, but it's a roster that the coaching staff seems to have a good amount of confidence in continuing to compete near the top of the Big 12.
All right, so Alec, you mentioned Rocco Beck there first, and obviously, along with Avery Johnson, no doubt about it, with Sam Levitt at Arizona State, regarded as the best quarterbacks in the conference, with a conference full of returning quarterbacks. correct me if I'm wrong, but from a fan's perspective, do people look at the Hunter Dekkers situation and him getting caught with gambling as a blessing in disguise to get Rocco out there a year earlier?
Perhaps. That whole situation kind of went down right before I started covering Iowa State, so I don't have as great of a knowledge base of it as I maybe would like to. I think it's worth pointing out that in 2022, Beck got to start the last game of the season, I believe, at TCU. And Matt Campbell talks a lot about just the way he carried himself in the huddle of that game. They got blown out in that game. It was really the only game the 2022 Cyclones weren't really competitive in, and that team missed a bowl game. But he loves talking about the way Rocco handled himself in the huddle, good leader, commanded the offense well, and that seemed to carry over quite a bit to 2023. But I think it's worth pointing out that he split snaps in his first start of the 2023 season with J.J. Cole, former blue-chip prospect who since transferred to Appalachian State. But that just kind of puts into perspective, like, I don't know if Iowa State knew what they had entering the 2023 season in Rocco Beck. Now, maybe part of the decision to put Rocco out there and put Cole out there in week 1 of 2023 against UNI was to show the fan base of, like, hey, this Rocco Beck kid is a little bit more developed and further along than J.J. Cole, the highly touted 4-star recruit from down the road in Ankeny, Iowa. So we're going to roll with this kid and allow the fan base to see each side of it. And really, since that moment, Rocco Beck hasn't looked back. Like I said, I mean, he's been really productive for them the last 2 years. If he throws for 3,000 yards this season, he'll become the first Iowa State quarterback in school history to do that in 3 straight seasons. Brock Purdy didn't even do that. He's got an opportunity to throw for 20-plus touchdowns for a 3rd straight season as well.
Tell you what, you just brought up some numbers, and I think it was yesterday. I was reading one of your articles, and you made a bunch of predictions about this season. A lot obviously stands out to me, but I was curious to know, like, right now, do you have like a big hot take on Iowa State season? I think they should be considered one of the favorites for the Big 12 title race once again, because I think they do have a bit of a favorable schedule. I mean, they still play a bunch of tough teams, but they got a lot of good home games out of that. So, any hot takes you want to give the K-State fans about Iowa State football this year?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say I'm a great hot take artist. I think my one strong opinion about this group is that we're probably going to know quite a bit about them after week 2 of the season and what is Iowa State's 3rd week overall. They obviously opened the season against K-State. That's why you're having me on. That game's in Ireland. That'll be a really good telltale sign, I think, for each team about how good each team is going to be. But you don't want to take too much away from it, right? Because it's week 0, first game of the season for each group, and it's in Ireland. So that's an odd setting. But Iowa State's going to get a good opportunity to, I think, learn further about themselves in week 2 of the season when they play Iowa in the annual Cyhawk game this year at the Jack Trice Stadium in Ames. That's a really good opportunity, I think, for Iowa State to learn how good they really are. If they beat Kansas State and they come home and they beat South Dakota, an FCS opponent, which they should in week 1 of the season, and then you handle Iowa in what is week 2 of the season in your 3rd week of the year, you're going to feel pretty good about yourself because you're going to be 3-0 with 2 power conference wins, and both of those wins would be over rivals. But if you lose both of those major games against your rivals, you're probably not going to feel too good. So I think we're going to learn a lot about how good Iowa State really is early in the season, which I think is really fun from the perspective of the media person and of the reporter. I think if you're a fan, like, that can be anxiety-inducing because if they're 0-2 in those 2 games, you're not going to be super excited, I think, about the rest of the season. But if you're 3-0, you're going to be fired up. And I would venture to say, to a certain extent, that, like, 3-0 this year might feel a lot better than, like, what 4 or 5-0 felt like last year for Iowa State, because they just hadn't had as many impressive wins at that point as they would this year. And that included a win over Iowa last year in week 2 in thrilling fashion. So my biggest hot take or bold opinion, I guess, would be like, we're going to kind of know how good Iowa State is or is not by the end of week 2 against Iowa.
Well, right now, K-State is a 3-point favorite heading into Dublin. I do have one question about that game. Do Iowa State fans, does the media know that this is going to be treated as a K-State home game? Like, I'm going to be doing the public address announcing for this game. It's going to be like a home game. It's just the crowd that's going to be more bowl game-like.
Yeah, I think they understand that K-State gave up the home game. I don't know if they necessarily understand that, like, you're going to be doing the PA announcing, or that maybe some of the imagery is perhaps more tilted towards K-State. I mean, there's not going to be like a Power Cat logo on the 50-yard line, I don't think. Like you said, it's going to be, bowl game-like from that perspective. But I don't know how much that'll change things. Like, I imagine each school's, like, pregame hype-up video gets played on the video board.
I don't think so.
Know. I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not going, so I won't get to see it. I wish I was going. I guess I'll have to have you send me what it's like pregame, Mitch. But I'm looking forward to it because I think it'll be a unique experience to absorb. And college game days going there, like it's got the spotlight of the sport, and it's a very anticipated game because it is the first game of the season, and everyone's going to be watching because we're all craving football.
The only thing I know about that does include Iowa State in pregame or halftime is that the bands are going to play together at halftime. I don't think there is anything Iowa State in pregame.
Well, there we go. We get a joint band performance. What do we think they're going to play?
Oh, boy. I don't know. What's a good farm song? Should have been a cowboy? I don't know.
Ronald McDonald?
Are we going to sing Old MacDonald Had a Farm?
I mean, we could.
Had a wildcat here and a wildcat there?
Cyclone here, cyclone there.
I got one more question for you, and there was just another report about this yesterday, and I just want to get your thoughts, what you know about this issue right now that Iowa State's dealing with, because this is obviously a very big topic. And I think it was reported a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, that about the $147 million deficit in athletics. That's through 2031. And then there was a report that the Hilton Coliseum renovations they're gonna cease that because of the shortfall. Are there worries that Iowa State's going to struggle to meet the $20.5 million in revenue share? How big of a problem is this right now for Iowa State athletics?
Yeah, so the article you're referencing, I think the headline was a little deceiving, right? Like you mentioned that they're going to get to the $150 million in debt around like 2031. The headline kind of makes it sound like they're there now. So I thought that, one, there was a little bit of a deceiving headline. The second point I would make is that the article projects them to be at about a $5 million deficit every year. That's pretty good if you consider the fact that $20.5 million is now coming out of your budget that previously wasn't. It's also worth pointing out that, like, athletic departments aren't necessarily businesses in many cases. Like, they don't have to churn profits, and in many cases across the country they don't, and that doesn't affect their operations on a day-to-day basis. In terms of Iowa State's ability to fully fund revenue sharing, their athletic director, Jamie Pollard, has said that they are fully committed to doing it. And for the first 2 years, because of wise and strategic financial decisions that they've made in the past, that they're actually well set up to do that for the immediate future. Now, the long term, I think it gets a little bit more challenging for them because those reserves that they have, they're not going to be able to rely on nearly as much. So perhaps they're going to have to get a little creative with certain things. But I think the $20.5 million is really hard for every school. I think it's hard for Big 12 schools in particular because they're not as fortunate to have the media rights distributions that Big 10 or SEC schools might receive. I will say it's worth pointing out, too, that Matt Campbell recently signed and finalized a contract extension with Iowa State that'll pay him $5 million annually. Within that agreement with Iowa State, the process that went through allowed Iowa State to put an extra $1 million annually to revenue sharing on the roster. So that's an exciting development for Iowa State too, and certainly a selfless move by Campbell, and one that I think he's excited about making because he knows it allows him to better support his coaching staff and his roster. But at the same time, like, it is a long-term concern for Iowa State, just like it is, I think, for a lot of athletic departments, of how they're going to sustain at this level, where they have an increasing budget of $20 million annually that they previously didn't have to exist with.
No worry about that buyout, $2 million for Matt Campbell to go somewhere else. He's already said no to a bunch of people already.
Yeah, it's really unique. The contract is odd in the fact that it's a fully guaranteed deal. So if he were to ever get fired from Iowa State for, like, poor performance, Iowa State would still owe him everything that's still left on the contract. As far as the $2 million buyout for someone else to hire him, I think it's unique because to me, there's very little protection for Iowa State athletics in the deal that they just finalized with Campbell, right? Like, they have to pay him the entire $40 million no matter what, unless he gets fired for cause. And if he does like something criminal off the field, then they could fire him with cause. I think a lot of people would see that he just signed an 8-year contract extension, and you're thinking, well, that would make it really prohibitive for another school to hire him away from Iowa State. But it's only a $2 million buyout. So if a job or an opportunity comes that really catches his attention, it wouldn't be very hard for another school to hire him. I do think it's worth pointing out, though, that like this will be his 10th season at Iowa State. He's had a lot of success here. He's the winningest coach in school history. He has the best winning percentage post-World War II, or pre-World War II, I think it is. Like, I struggle to see him leave, but I do think that if the right opportunities came at the right time, and it was the right thing to do for him and his family, that he could see himself moving. I don't think he'll move. At least not in the immediate future. I just don't think it's in the cards for him, but no one thought Lincoln Riley was going to move, and no one thought that Brian Kelly was going to take the LSU job. So the carousel has weird developments every year, and perhaps maybe in the future, Matt Campbell taking another job is one of those. We'll see.
All right, Alec, I'll leave you with this. The listeners are smarter than I am. She thinks my tractor's sexy. Kenny Chesney for the bands to play.
I love that. That's a great idea. That's a really good idea. You see, the Manhattan listeners, Mitch, they're just, highly educated. They couldn't have ever gone to school in Lawrence or something like that, could they?
No, or Lincoln or anything. But it's not just here in Manhattan. We got Kansas City, Wichita, those listening around the world, thanks to us streaming live.
Big Green Tractor, too, from Jason Aldean.
Say that again.
Big Green Tractor by Jason Aldean, too.
There's a lot of those tractor songs.
Yep.
All right, Alec, I hope we get to chat one more time before kickoff, but until then, appreciate it, sir, and best of luck with the radio gig.
Thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it. I'll make sure to hit you up if I ever need anything in the radio business. Maybe some advice here and there.
Yep, I'll help you out anytime I can.
Thanks, Mitch. Have a great day.
You too, sir. That's Alec Busse. Boy, he's got a lot going on for him. 24/7 Sports Cyclone Alert, and the host of First Quarter with Heather Burnside on 106.3 KXNO. Well, we got about a minute left. Or 2 minutes left. How much time do we have?
Looks like we'll take it into we'll just hit a little
right.
Little bit of that,
right.
and take it into the Royals game. What's something part of Irish cuisine that you may be looking forward to or not looking forward to?
Well, okay, so we talked about this at the press conferences last week. Like blood sausage is popular over there, and I've never had it, but they're all saying it's not any good. You can barely stand it. Could it be that bad?
I think you have to do everyone the service or yourself the service of, trying it at least once, because I'm a firm believer in you can't really knock something until you try it.
Well, so we're very close to locking down the game/PowerCat Game Day headquarters in Dublin. We're just finalizing a few things. And this place that we're going to be hopefully broadcasting from has some excellent-looking fish and chips and bangers and mash. Apparently that's the go-tos. We're back tomorrow. Go Cats.
In Manhattan, building community means more than bricks and beams. It means innovation and partnership. At McCown Gordon Construction, we deliver feature-focused solutions to projects that shape our region. From advanced research labs to vibrant education, healthcare, and community hubs. We're not just building projects, we're building the future of the Flint Hills with unmatched customer experience and value-driven strategies. We're building for tomorrow